Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of the channel, I need to apologize. It's been a common theme recently, but a really busy schedule, and here we are. It's a weekend update upload for you guys, reviewing the match for the USMNT where we got the win, and Mauricio Pochettino has finally, and only his first professional, not professional, but official game. He has already equaled Greg Berhalter's record in away games in CONCACAF. But initial thoughts, Braden, it was a little uneventful, a bit of a hard match to analyze as well. Your initial thoughts right out after that 1-0 victory away at Kingston.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's going to be a percentage of the fan base who aren't happy with the game because, like you said, it was uneventful. It was a little bit boring. It was a little bit fortunate for us at times. But honestly, I don't care. The fact that we got an away win this quickly, and yes, it's Jamaica. It's not one of the toughest environments. No shade to them. It's just not as tough as going to Mexico and winning, or going to Panama or Costa Rica or anywhere like that. Even Suriname, where Canada just had to go and won. The distance alone in that, it plays a huge factor. But regardless, the fact that we came away with a win and a clean sheet on the road is basically the perfect scenario for me. I mean, sure, it would have been nice to blow them off the park 3-0, 4-0, whatever, but the fact that we just grinded out a bad CONCACAF game is a welcome surprise, and it's new. So I'm all for this, honestly, at least in away games. Now, I will say at home we should be playing better than this.
I will be completely honest. I'm usually very pessimistic when it comes to the team, but I'm really happy with this win. I know that it's not the notorious flashy soccer that for some reason our fan base feels entitled to, but hey, we grinded, like you said, we fought for this match, and I'll be honest, at times it wasn't pretty. We got very fortunate. I mean, even with the penalty save, all merit to Turner, but we'll get more into that later as we will do the player ratings, like you guys enjoy them. But honestly, we fought, and I could see more willingness to fight and chase a result than we did with Greg. I mean, at times, even if we had to bunker a little bit, not try to be too flashy playing out the back, just hoop it long if needed. And I'm really happy because it shows character. And what is it, 6-8 training sessions that they had with Poch? Can't really expect much from that. What we can expect is the standards to be raised. So all in all, I'm pretty happy about that. Now I'd like to ask you, now that we dive into the game, is there anything that you can pull out of the hat to analyze from that first half? Anything that stood out for you, apart from, I think, the most impactful thing was Johnny being carried out in the first half. I mean, it is an impactful thing. It changed. Do you think that, I'm trying to fish for things right here to talk about, do you think that Poch showed some versatility as a coach? Did you like the adaptation that he did? Because it did make us a little bit more progressing with the ball, I think.
Yeah, there's three things to talk about in the first half. I mean, they all kind of came thick and fast at the beginning. Excellent start to the game. We came out with intensity. The first 10 minutes, it was a statement. And I think this was kind of the game plan from Poch. Obviously, we won't know what was said in the locker room until the behind the crest comes out. But it definitely seemed like we had intention to go out there and get an early goal. And then as soon as we did get that, we basically sat back, relaxed a little bit, but defended, which is the important part. I think the strategy here was to get the early goal on the road and then sit back, grind out a win. We executed it to perfection. Well, kind of. But great ball from Christian Pulisic. We'll get to the player ratings, of course, but I think he controlled everything in the middle of the park. It was excellent cutting inside. Honestly, I think he did more cutting into the middle than he did on the left, which was interesting to see. Maybe that's because we weren't really playing with a true 10. McKennie was at that position, playing a little bit more advanced, but we know that's not where he's most comfortable. So Pulisic kind of drifted inside, took that roll up a little bit. Great through ball to Pepi, and even though he scuffed the finish, I mean, it still went off the post, and it was still as perfect as you can get. And it has to be said, it took him 5 minutes to accomplish what it's taken Josh Sargent 5 years to do. And he still hasn't even done it yet. So it could end up being 10 years. Who knows? But Ricardo Pepi, I think, has established that he is the 9, at least for now. Balogun, he's probably still a better player. Maybe, I don't know. But for the national team, Pepi's definitely been doing it. For club this season, he's been on an absolute tear. He's even getting the ridiculous rumors that we see every transfer window. He's finally become a victim of one of them. Taylor Booth would be proud, I think. But it's just so nice to see. The next thing to analyze is the penalty. You said all credit to Turner for saving it, yes, but it was also a very stupid penalty to give away. Although, honestly, I'm not going to be too harsh on him because it was an excellent save. One of the best saves I've ever seen him make, to be completely honest, and doing that with only playing one game all season, very impressive. So hats off to Turner for that. I do want to say, though, Tim Ream, welcome to retirement. That was your moment. That was his welcome to retirement moment, getting absolutely owned by Shamar Nicholson, of all players, who's playing out in Russia, and he's not even playing too fantastically there. I mean, you need to retire. It's fine. I think that one of my main takeaways from this game as a whole is that Poch needs to find a new captain because, sure, maybe Tim Ream's the best leader in the squad, but he's not good enough to be in the squad. It's like, I'll use an example. We see with our youth teams sometimes, the captain that's chosen is one of the fringe players, and then that allows for us maybe not having the best 11 on the pitch. That's exactly what's happening now for the USMNT. Hopefully someone steps up. Maybe it's Tanner Tessmann. He got the start. He showed those qualities in the Olympics. Maybe it's someone else, Pulisic, Jedi Robinson, Adams when he's back. I don't know, but someone needs to step up. And then the other thing, of course, you mentioned Johnny Cardoso getting subbed off. Very disappointed for him because I was curious to see what a full game of a Johnny Tessmann double pivot would look like. We got a couple promising things, a couple not so promising things in the 20 minutes, but really not enough to make any conclusions. It's just kind of sucks for him that he had to get taken off so early, although I'm sure he'll be firing and fit again for Real Betis after the international window. It was interesting to see Tillman come on and play more of a 6. I thought he would have gone to the 10, McKennie to drop back, but I do think it allowed for a little bit more fluidity, but also a little bit more conservative play and not as attacking, which honestly, I still have a little bit mixed feelings about.
Yeah, I mean, and I mentioned Johnny as the most notorious thing in terms of tactics. I probably should have phrased that a little bit better. Obviously, all of the things that, if you look back at the highlights, they all happened right at the first 20 minutes or so. And like you said, I think the main takeaway for me on that first half is Tim Ream. We need to find someone else. I mean, don't let the app ratings fool you. I think that Ream just looks, not that he doesn't look like he belongs. I think maybe he can still be a part of the squad just behind the scenes if he's that good of a leader, really. Because playing wise, I would much rather try new guys. I mean, you saw McKenzie, was he amazing? Just did all right, but I would rather have a guy like that that can have a future, has the age, has the legs to improve as a player as well. I mean, if we don't give these guys an opportunity, when are we going to have a new Team Ream, a guy that can bloom a little bit later? So I think that we need a little bit of renovation there. But my main takeaway was on that first half after the penalty was saved, which, like you said, I thought it was an amazing save, amazing penalty as well. It wasn't a bad penalty, so props to Turner. But I think it was very gritty and very disciplined. I think we looked like we had a real shape on the pitch, a little bit more pragmatic than maybe we would have liked, but we had a shape regardless, which at times with Greg, it looks like we didn't really have an idea. That brings us to the second half, which we can be very brief about if you want to, and then we dive into player ratings. Anything notorious in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm honestly struggling here. There was that one chance. I'll give Yunus Musah a little bit of credit for the only time in this video because he made a very clutch, crucial challenge that could have ended up resulting in a goal. And it didn't. And then there was also that Olympico that they almost had. I think that was kind of in the same sequence around the same time. Vazquez came on, missed a couple of chances, but at least he was getting himself in the positions, unlike some other strikers that we've tried out. Looking at you again, Josh Sargent. And then, of course, there was the red card, the second yellow to Mason Holgate. Definitely not how he would like to start out his Jamaica career. I know he played for them in the last window too, but this was his first, meaningful game. The last two were Nations League, but it was the group stage. I mean, come on. This is a high-profile game against the USA, and he gets sent off. Definitely not how he would like to start there. Although I will say their other new dual national, Isaac Hayden, looked okay off the bench when he came on at halftime. So I guess there's some silver lining there for Jamaica. But other than that, really not much to talk about in the second half. That's all I have, really.
Yeah, I'll struggle to find anything else to stretch out of that second half, really. I would just say a fun fact. I met Isaac Hayden at an airport once. Pretty cool guy. So happy to see him there for Jamaica. And I will say we got lucky. I just want to emphasize we got a little lucky because it could have been a penalty, in my opinion. And props to Turner for not conceding a goal because if that goes in, it basically erases the save on the first half. But that brings us to the player ratings where I think we can be a little bit more if we have anything to say and more specific to analyze from these players, we'll start off with Matt Turner. Got the penalty save. He was the player of the match on the apps. Do you agree with that one?
I mean, honestly, considering how boring the game was, I think there is an argument for it. I'm just going to give him a 7.5. I would give him higher if he didn't commit the stupid foul to give away the penalty, but he did make up for it, although I will say if it's a better penalty taker, that probably is going to go in. I mean, it's not necessarily a horrible penalty, but it was at the perfect height for him to save it and not completely in a corner. So Demarai Gray could have done a little bit better, but at the end of the day, Turner did his job. He kept a clean sheet away from home, made up for his one mistake with an even better save. So I'm pretty happy with the game he had.
Yeah, me too. I'll give him a 7, though, because I think that the fact that he was the one responsible for that good moment that he had kind of tells you he put us in a position that could have been very, very detrimental to the match. And it shows, hey, if that's against a better team, you know what happens. So I'll give him a 7. Still really bad with his feet. Not going to talk too much about that. I think that's just who he is really as a keeper, and still the best one we have out there. Now moving on to Joe Scally, who I'll be honest, I don't even remember Joe being involved in anything throughout the match. What would you give him?
Yeah, the right side was non-existent. I guess a 5 is average, right? So I guess he just gets a 5. I honestly cannot think of... Actually, no, never mind. He's going to get a 3. I just remembered he passed the ball to Jamaica so many times. It's incredible. I mean, I'm looking at FotMob now, and it says he only missed 7 passes. If that's true, all 7 of them went to a Jamaican player and could have led to a chance. It was ridiculous, honestly. I don't know if maybe Poch didn't tell him what jerseys we were wearing. Maybe he's colorblind. I'm not sure, but he needs to sort out his passing. Other than that, on the defensive side of the ball, I don't think he was bad necessarily. Nothing really stood out, which is good for a defender. If there's nothing standing out, then it means he's not getting beat. But the passing really needs to improve.
Yeah, I just think that Scally is, I don't want to be harsh on the guy right here, but just a very limited player that can be solid. So he's slotting in while Dest is out. I don't think he has done anything to say that he should be a starter in the future. Was up against Bailey, but I don't know. I think that Jamaica as a whole, maybe more on that later, but I think as a whole needs to cohesively reshape everything, fan culture, the team. So it's not the Bailey that we see at Aston Villa. So yeah, I'll give him a 4, really. But what did he do right or wrong, apart from the passes? So moving on to Mark McKenzie, happy to see him get a chance. It shows that he probably impressed during training sessions. I think it's his first start in the past, many years or months. So what do you think about his match?
Yeah, and I'll just say quickly about Leon Bailey. I feel like, yes, it has him listed as a left winger. I think he was mainly deployed on the right-hand side. I mean, I saw him going up against Jedi and Ream a lot more than I saw him against Scally. But Scally is kind of replaceable in terms of the fact that you don't notice him. So maybe it's just that we weren't noticing him. Who knows? Bailey, not that he did anything on either side. I'm going to give McKenzie a 7. I think it was a really strong game from him. I think people are going to highlight the penalty and say that he could have done better there. And I think it's fair, but you also have to consider it's a horrible pitch. He does everything right. I think he goes in, he actually makes the tackle. It just happens to bounce back to Nicholson, which I think is more due to luck than actually a bad execution on McKenzie's part. And then obviously Turner has to foul him. Well, it doesn't have to foul him, but he did foul him. And I think we have to mention it as well. Ream just got cooked before that, so it shouldn't have even got to McKenzie in the first place. Outside of that one moment, I think he played an exceptional game, a huge part of the clean sheet, of course, which is huge on the road. Maybe we'll dock him down to a 6.5, but again, I don't really think you can blame him too much for that.
I'll give him a 6.5. That's exactly what I had in mind before, and I would just say this guy is the unluckiest player I've ever seen. Man, he always finds himself in these situations where people that don't like him will have something to say. But I thought it was a very solid match, and he played an important role in an away match against a good side in CONCACAF. So for what CONCACAF is, so I'll give him a 6.5. Definitely will do him the world of confidence that he did well, and I think Poch saw it too. He has the grit to grind out these types of results. Next, we go to our favorite retirement guy right here, Tim Ream. Maybe it's time for him to leave the national team, and what's your rating for him?
It is time. I don't know why he's still taking up a spot, even if he is still good enough to be in the squad, which sure, there's an argument. We don't have a lot of center backs, but I think it's not debatable that he's not good enough to be a starter. And I think the problem is, like I said earlier, since he is the captain, since he is the leader, since he has all the experience, if he's going to be in the camp, he's probably going to be on the pitch more often than not as the captain, which is just detrimental to our side as a whole. And I think it is time to move on, because if this is Tim Ream currently at the end of 2024, imagine him in the summer of 2026. It's not going to be pretty. So I think just for the sake of the program, and maybe for the sake of even his legacy somewhat as well, we just need to give him thanks for everything. He's been an incredible servant to the national team, besides those few years where he was playing left back for some reason. But thank you for everything, Tim Ream. Time to go. I'm going to give him, I'll boost Scally up to a 4 in retrospect, because I'm going to give Tim Ream, I'll give him a 2.5. And I think even that he was substantially worse than Scally was.
Yeah, I think I'll give him a 3, really. I don't think it goes down to a 2, but not much to say, really. I think everybody knows what I think about him based on what I said before. Moving on right here to Jedi, right next to him. Thoughts on Jedi's match?
I think he was just Jedi, although maybe to a lesser extent. I think the pitch kind of limited him a little bit. I mean, we already know he's not the most technical player, so when you add in the bad conditions, it's a little bit tough for him. I will say that chance that he had early on in the game, that's something else we could have talked about when analyzing the first half, but I mean, it was just a one-on-one. I do think that the pitch, again, it kind of caught the ball up a little bit. He had to slow down to keep it in his stride. With or without that, he should be scoring that. Left back, center back, goalkeeper, striker, I don't care who it is. You need to score a one-on-one. Credit to my guy Andre Blake, of course, for saving it, always coming up big. But if you're in a one-on-one situation, you need to score. It's simple as that. I'll just give him a 6.
I'll be honest, I'll be a little bit critical right here of Jedi. I thought at times, I mean, he got nutmegged on, absolutely cooked at one play, which I think is what led to the big chance. But for Jamaica, I don't know. I feel like Jedi is very solid, but this is why I don't put him in the bracket of world class. I think that at times the first touch is abysmal. I know the pitch wasn't helping him in any way, but I just expect a little bit more if he is in that bracket. So for what I think for him, I'll give him a 6 still. Very reliable player, but nothing too great in my opinion. Now we move on right here to, are we going to give Johnny a rating? I'm not going to give him a rating, so I guess we'll go to Tanner Tessmann, the other defensive midfielder. Really happy to see him get a start. I think the first time I said he would start for the USMNT was way back in December 2022 or something. I'm happy to see him start. How do you see his match, Braden?
Yeah, I'm going to give him, this is tough. I think I'm going to go 6.5. I don't think there was anything that necessarily stood out, but that's just the type of player he is. He's solid, concise, does everything right, and the fact that you don't notice him, again, like I said for Scally, is kind of a good thing, because it means he's not making any high profile mistakes. I do think there was maybe 1 or 2 times where he was a little bit too slow to a challenge and allowed a Jamaican player to get by him, or maybe had a couple sloppy passes, but again, we do have to factor in the horrific CONCACAF field conditions. I'm just going to give him a 6.5. I thought it was a very solid, concise game. I do think he definitely upped his stock from this game, which is really all you can ask for. It's his first USMNT start, and he delivered.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not much to say. I just thought his usual self, good passing, some passes here and there. I'm not going to blame the pitch. I think there was one pass in particular that really should have been a right pass, but a good match all around. I think the physicality really showed at times, which was needed. I think he won most of his duels, and yeah, just a quiet, solid match. I'll give him a 6, really. I don't think it goes to the level of McKenzie, who was more involved in the action, so I'll give the Tessmann a 6. I think that's fair. Moving on to Malik Tillman, somehow found himself playing a little bit of a defensive role. Kind of crazy, really, but how do you see his match? I mean, in the past, he used to ghost in every match. How do you see this one?
Yeah, this is a difficult one, because if you think Malik Tillman, you want him to be playing free-flowing, fluid, number 10, creating chances, which just wasn't what he was in this game, and that's not any fault of his own. It's just the tactical setup that Poch had. He was playing more of a defensive midfielder, like you said, maybe an 8 at times, but he didn't really involve himself much in the attack, and I'm not going to blame him for that. In games past, I will, because that was his role, but this game he had a different role, and I think he did it all right. I'm going to give him a 5.5. 5.5. I think in terms of duels, he definitely could have done better. But again, he's not a traditional 6. I don't know why teams keep playing him there. We already saw what happened for PSV when he played at that position. He gave the ball away and they lost to Ajax, one of their biggest rivals. I think we're just lucky that something similar didn't happen here. So all things considered, not bad, not great. I just don't want to see him in this position again. Just play him higher up the pitch, move McKennie back. It would have made a lot more sense, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely, I was shocked really that that's how Poch his approach is a little bit iffy there, but I'll give Tillman a 5. I don't know. I feel like if that was against a better opposition, he would have definitely been exposed. But again, is it really his fault? It's not really his position. I don't know why he's been deployed there. Moving on right here to McKennie.
Yeah, and then one other quick thing I wanted to mention, I just remembered, Aiden Morris did get injured in training, so I think that's another key thing. I do think that he probably would have come on if he wasn't starting already instead of Tillman, but the options were a little depleted. Aronson as well was ill, so he wasn't involved, so not a lot of options in the midfield. Maybe it could have been Busio, McKennie dropping back, whatever it is, Musah maybe even, but it worked out for the best, I would say. As for McKennie, he got a yellow card. He created a couple chances, maybe. I don't know. I don't think he did anything bad necessarily. I'm just going to give him, I don't know. I feel like he did better than Tillman, honestly. So maybe I'll bump Tillman down to a 5 and I'll give McKennie a 5.5. There wasn't any real moments that stood out to me, which is kind of uncharacteristic of McKennie, but maybe it's just because he was playing a little bit higher up than he normally does.
Yeah, I think for all of our technical players, this was a very difficult match because some of their better skills, like passing for McKennie, they're kind of being taken away with the pitch conditions. And I don't know. I just feel like maybe he would have played a different role if he had a true double pivot behind him as well. So I think that factors in. I don't think Tillman provides the stability for him to be free-flowing if that's what he was going to be. So I'll give him a 6. I feel like similar to Tessmann, good match. Showed the fight that was needed, but nothing too great. Even the yell at me, I don't think that docks any points. Moving on right here to the guy that could have been in the mix for this center mid position. Somehow now he's a winger. So Musah, I think, is that his future? Do you think that's his future with Poch now at the helm? And how do you see his match?
Wait, Musah was playing? No, seriously, I mean, I don't remember seeing him outside of that one challenge. I'll give him a 4. It would have been lower if he didn't make that challenge. I'll give him props for that. That was excellent. Saved a goal. It's going to be huge when it comes down to it in the tie in the second leg. But for a winger to be completely absent, to not even notice you're on the pitch, that's just inexcusable. It was the whole same thing for the right side. And maybe some of Scally's bad passes were just because Musah wasn't getting open. I mean, a lot of the times he was giving the ball away, he was trying to play it down the line, and Musah just wasn't there. It was always to a Jamaican. You can blame Scally, you can blame Musah. I'm going to put the blame on both of them. I think his future, I don't think it's in the midfield. I don't think it's on the wing. I think it's on the bench or maybe left out of the roster. I mean, I just don't see it. Honestly, I'm sorry. I just don't see it. He had a great game against Real Madrid. Cool. That doesn't matter for the USMNT. I do like it. I've said this before. I like the fact that he was on the wing because when he inevitably gets the ball, tries to do too much and loses it, it's in a less dangerous position, which is cool. But although to his credit, I don't think he did that as much this game, mainly just because he wasn't getting open or getting the ball at all. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, disappointing. I'm looking forward to a lot having Tim Weah back for the second leg.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think that if Poch truly sees him as a winger option, I think that somehow it brings his stock and his space in the roster even more into question. Maybe that's a hot take, but it's just how I see it, even though we are short in the wings. He's an error-prone player, but I'll give him a 5 just based on the tackle. I thought it was an amazing piece of defending. I'm very critical of Musah at times, but that was top class defending, and I like how pumped up he was after that as well, but very absent. He gets, I would say, maybe 2 points off of that to justify a 5, but yeah, very quiet match from him. I think we were leaning towards the left the whole match, really. So now we move on to the guy that always delivers, whether the pitch sucks, whether the pitch is good, whether we're playing a great team, poor team. Pulisic, what a season he's having. Beautiful ball to Pepi. What would you grade him?
I'm going to give him a 7.6, and that's just because I don't want to give Matt Turner man of the match because of the penalty mistake and because it just doesn't feel right. Pulisic, I will say he was a little bit quiet by his standards, but when we did create something, he was always at the center of it. Like I said, tucking it inside at times, and of course the assist to Pepi was vital. I mean, gave us the perfect start we wanted, allowed us to execute our game plan to perfection, and I think without that, it's a very different game. So I'm going to give Pulisic 7.6, I guess 7.51, whatever. Just one slight margin above Turner. I don't think he did enough to get an 8, just a little bit too absent for my liking, especially in the second half. I think he could have done a lot better. But then again, we weren't necessarily pushing for a goal in the second half. So I think just fine for Pulisic, and he is inevitable, isn't he? Regardless if he has a good game, bad game, average game by his standards, there's always a goal contribution in there.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7.5. I think even defensively, he was doing his duties on the second half, helping us have volume there. And I think at times, there was one play in particular. I think Tessmann plays the ball to him, normal ball, nothing outrageous, just a normal pass. He flicks it, turning. He does what Musah and Balogun, they try to do that all the time. Probably think they can do, and he immediately runs for a 1-2 to receive the ball back, and Pepi misplaces the pass. There's another moment where he gives a good pass to Tillman, makes a run for it. Tillman holds on for it too long. I feel like this shows that he's a guy a little bit above our other players. So maybe it could have been a better match if he had better teammates around him. But it is what it is, and I'm glad that he's taking the mantle that needs to be taken and step up. He's always stepping up. Getting that goal contribution was vital. I mean, it's probably what's going to get us through the tie. And yeah, I'll give him a 7.5. And now moving on to Pepi, who I will say just right away, props for taking your chance. He has been a sub for such a long time. He gets to start, whether he meant it or not. He got the goal. What do you think, Braden?
Yeah, I mean, pre-game he said hearing the word super sub makes him want to punch someone, and he's proving why he should be a starter for club and country. I will say, outside of the goal, not the best of games from Ricardo Pepi. I think that his hold-up play could have been vastly improved. He was either making not necessarily the wrong pass, but just not having the execution on his passes at times. I mean, you mentioned one of the examples when talking about Pulisic, or maybe getting bullied off the ball. Jamaica do have very physical center backs, to be fair. I mean, how one of them got sent off. So, but I guess there's that to make an argument. But I do think it could have been a little bit better. But he's a striker. His job is to score goals. He took his chance. Unlike Brandon Vazquez, who came off the bench, and I mean, Balogun's still injured. Sargent hasn't taken his chance in half a decade. Oh, not a half a century, but maybe if we keep giving him chances, it'll be half a century. So I'll just give Pepi, I don't know, a 7. I guess his job is to score. Outside of that, I did think it was a little bit poor, but then again, same thing as Pulisic. Our job wasn't necessarily to get the ball to Pepi to attack. It was kind of to preserve the clean sheet. So he did what we were asked of him, and if that is what he is every game, I love it.
Yeah, I will say his score probably gets hurt because he only had one winger to feed off from, and that winger, everybody knows who he is, and he was getting hacked. I'm actually surprised that Pulisic lasted the whole match. I thought Poch would sub him out. So I'll give Pepi a 7. He did his job. I will say I don't think we have any strikers in our roster that would be as physical to combat and do a hold-up play against the Jamaican backline. I think Balogun wouldn't be able to hold it. Maybe Pfok, I don't know. I thought that they were very physical, as we know, and they were defending in numbers too. So props for the goal. Moving on right here to the subs. Kind of tough to grade some of them. Zendeja, Stresti, they came on at the very end, so we can just rate right here. Busio and Vazquez, they came on at the same time, and like you said, they were both active. I think Busio forced a yellow. Your thoughts if you want to group both of them together?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I have a rating for Busio. I think I'm just going to give him a 5 for average. There was nothing necessarily that stood out. He was very concise, I will say. I think that basically everything he did well, which was nice. Maybe I'll give him a 5.5 then. I think that seems fair off the bench. It's not like he necessarily created something huge, but he did his job off the bench. Vazquez, I do think, to your point, I think he is the one striker in our pool that actually could maybe deal with the physicality of the Jamaican center backs. I mean, that's just how he's built. He's a big target man. That's what he is. And credit to him for actually creating some chances, because that's now twice in a row, the Mexico game being the other one, where he comes off the bench, gets about 20 minutes, and actually does have chances, which is something that maybe we haven't seen in the past from him, or maybe he just hasn't got the opportunity. And definitely there's some other strikers out there who haven't done as well, but you have to be putting your chances away at the end of the day as a striker. I'm going to give him a 5. I think it balances out. There was 1 or 2 nice moments in hold-up play. It was a good job from him getting into the positions, but you have to score. So some good, some bad.
Yeah, on Busio, I will say there was one foul. I mean, we never compliment players for making fouls, but there was one foul. I thought it was very tactical. I don't know if he had the thought of being tactical or not, but he did an important foul. I think it let us breathe a little bit. They did have moments where it kind of looked like they maybe could have created something, and from what I've seen from Busio throughout his life, he can switch off, and these are the types of games that I don't really want to see him playing at. But he proved me wrong in that sense. Came on, played for about 20 minutes, and did well. Didn't cost us in any way. So, and forced a yellow too. So I guess props on that. For Vazquez, I know Pepi doesn't like it, but maybe he should like the word super sub, because I feel like that would be his role. Really big guy, needs to put them away, but he always finds himself in chances. I think it's the first time that he has been involved with the A team for these past camps right here, and he needs to get a goal. If he gets a goal, I think he can really cement himself as an option. He does provide something a little bit different, like you said. I think the header, he's clearly the best header we have on the roster and the entire pool. So maybe he should like that word super sub. And that brings us to our final rating. Mauricio Pochettino, again, still kind of acclimating, doesn't have that much time with the guys yet. How do you see his game management?
Yeah, I'm going to give Pochettino, I guess he's the man of the match, because I'll give him an 8 out of 10. I think the lineup, maybe there's some places where you can say, okay, maybe the pick was underwhelming, Musah being the main one. The Tillman sub, I think, as well, was a bit of not necessarily a mishap, just I don't think the ideal situation. But when you look at the players he's missing, I mean, Way is suspended, Aaronson's sick, Morris is injured. His hands were tied a little bit. I mean, considering, I don't know who you would have rather put. For Musah, maybe Zendejas gets the start after showing a little bit of scrappiness against Mexico. I don't think so. I think it's just safer to pick Musah. The Tillman thing, I do think it probably should have been playing at the 10, put McKennie back, but that's a very small thing. At the end of the day, like you said, he already equaled Greg's total of away wins in CONCACAF competitive play, which is incredible. It's crazy how some people defended Greg for this long. But props to Poch. It wasn't pretty, but we got the result, and that's what matters most. So if this is, again, I said it in the intro, I'll say it again, if this is the story of our CONCACAF away games, sign me up.
Yeah, honestly, I've said it so many times in the past. I don't care about playing flashy. I would take that type of match any day, really. Didn't concede. We didn't really look like we were going to concede for most of the game, so I'll give him a 7, though. I don't think I can give him an 8, because I feel like some selections, I'll go back to the roster. Yeah, I mean, all these guys, Way suspended, Aaronson sick, but then you called up Cowell, really. You played Tillman at the 6. What options did you allow yourself to have? Call up Paxton, put him in the wing. He can play anywhere there. Musah got to play almost a full 90, so that's crazy for me. The Tillman, it could have been very risky. Other than that, I mean, yeah, he's trying Ream there, but I don't think any coach wouldn't put him there, especially for the experience. I'll give him a 7. I think installing the fighting spirit, it remains to be seen, but we have some promising signs that maybe the culture, that's a word that USSF loves, seems to be on the right track. So let us know in the comments below, what did you think of this match? Again, sorry for the late upload. If you watched this far, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, share with your friends, and stay tuned as we will have more consistent videos coming up. Thank you so much.